Running a business comes with a lot of what ifs, but luckily there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
I feel for, younger writers who are looking to have that breakout moment like Quinta did with Abbott Elementary, who can finally have that, shot at the goal and be able to get something on the air.
Welcome to the Ankler Podcast. It's Wednesday, October 8th, and I'm your host, Elaine Lowe, staff writer at the Ankler and author of the series Business Newsletter. If you woke up today and thought, you know what? I would really love to rank all of Hollywood's showrunners in order of how influential they are, have I got the show for you. We're going to have our Ankler colleague, Leslie Goldberg, on in a little bit to talk about the most market-defining showrunners across town, get into some of the more controversial picks, who got left off the list, and break down what this group says as a whole about the state of the TV industry in 2025. But first, let's talk about our new AI overlords. Last week, everyone kicked up a fuss about Tilly Norwood, a quote-unquote AI actress or a fully synthetic performer that was unveiled at a film festival. But what was arguably more of a PR stunt than something actually coming for Scarlett Johansson's next job. And yet, the threat of AI replacing entertainment jobs just got more real with the newest version of ChatGPT, known as GPT-5, which launched in August. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman called it their smartest, fastest, most useful model yet. And our own AI columnist, Eric Barmack, said it's having a strange effect on entertainment folk. People who work in Hollywood are actually using it. So I'm here with Sean McNulty of The Wake Up and Natalie Jarvie of Like and Subscribe. Let me tell you guys a couple of the things Eric says that GPT-5 can do. It can recognize tone in a script and do a polish on a draft based on that tone, create different taglines or marketing positions, and remember about a full TV season's worth of scripts all at once, which it definitely didn't have the capacity for before. So Sean, Natalie, how long before this thing can host a podcast?
Lady, you want to give up your headphones there? What's going on? You got something to do?
Yeah, it's good. Let's not let it get a hold of my voice and your voice, or we're done for.
Oh, it has that. That's a long gone, Elaine. Don't even think about that. How does it do with GIFs? Is it any good with selecting GIFs? Because then I'm just going to hang up my whole bracket.
No more newsletter for you if somebody else is going to pick those GIFs.
I haven't heard any GIF breakthrough technology yet. Eric's piece. If you haven't read this piece, it's the best thing I've read on this in a long time, in a scary way, in a smart way, in an easy to understand way. Natalie, you just wrap your head around this 100%, right? I mean, what did you kind of take away from this?
Yeah, I mean, it is something we've been talking about for so long, right? This possibility that AI could come for our jobs. And I think it was really easy to delude yourself for a while that, right, this is like years away. But no, it's here and it's real and we should all be taking it seriously.
Yeah, your head's out of the sand here, Elaine. I mean, it's not hard to imagine anything. But I mean, Eric lays out the jobs that are, at risk and that are already kind of, being, replaced or maybe not hired as much.
I mean, he seems to think this is the end of junior executives and production assistants as we know it, which, I don't know, on the surface sounds like an overstatement, but maybe not at 5 years from now. Who's to say?
We just don't need as many. I mean, again, this is the same theme, and this isn't endemic to Hollywood. This is, the head of JP Morgan was saying this week, he said $2 billion of cost savings, meaning more like, with less staff. And this is, one of the world's largest banks. This is what what it's being used for. It's eliminating, again, white collar, entry level to lower level jobs. You don't need a whole staff of people. Maybe you just need two people who know how to run the AI. And that could be, as Eric laid out, from a development point of view, from continuity of scripts and things, things that a writer's assistant would be there for. It's just machine learning. And, I think it's really hard because there is progress and it's like hard to argue against it as like, if this is more efficient and the the quality is there. You know, you can argue what it's trained on, and I get that aspect of it. But Natalie, you know, is this kind of an outrage point of view, or what? How do you feel like, you know, reading this stuff?
I hear that we're going to lose all these entry-level jobs, and I immediately go to the place of, well, what's going to happen then in 5-10 years when you need those mid-level jobs, when you need those senior executives who have experience? You're not going to have that pipeline. So I get really worried that, you know, we can't just get rid of a bunch of these jobs and let, you know, AI do everything for us. You've still got to have young bodies, you know, in the office learning these skills, learning this craft so that they can eventually take over leadership roles. And that's going to, I think, be the big, you know, kind of challenge that a lot of Hollywood executives, studios will have, is figuring out how do we continue to train young people while, you know, taking advantage of the cost saving that can come from use of AI.
Did you guys clock the line where Eric says in his column, one mid-tier streamer now mandates GPT-5 passes on every pre-greenlight deliverable, including coverage, pitch decks, and log lines? Like, what? Like, does the WGA know about this?
Well, I mean, and as he also pointed out, the protections for this kinds of staff were not in the last agreement. And we'll see, as we have reminded people, the new agreement is coming next year. Will this be something that they fight for? We shall see about that. But, and again, this is 2025, you know, as Wayne Gretzky, look where the puck is going. It's not even like, oh, you know, this is the new stasis and it's going to sit here. Map this out to 2027, 2028. Like, you know, this is moving at a velocity that's just like, all right, whatever job can be done by this will be done by this as much as humanly possible. Costs, we also have to come down, et cetera, et cetera. And this isn't just development, by the way. Eric also points out in marketing, it's like, okay, you don't need a team of 6 to 8 editors knocking out a whole bunch of 15-second, 30-second spots. It's like, yeah, one editor overseeing, you know, an AI that outputs you 6-7 cuts to pick from, and then he picks from it and moves on. So it's not just a development situation here. There's a lot of levels. And this is all what's related to. We talk about, you know, Ellison came in saying it's going to be a media and tech company at Peace Guy. And it's like, this is exactly what he's talking about. And that's where my mind went, Elaine. It's just like, this is exactly what Paramount is probably rolling out behind the scenes right now as we speak. I don't know that, but I would guess that.
Right. And I mean, I feel like the sense is that most of these major studios and entertainment companies, even if they're not talking about it out loud, have some sort of AI R&D going on behind the background. Exactly. Which is why I wonder, when it comes to the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA, they've got a negotiation cycle coming up in the spring. We are almost 3 years out from the last negotiation cycle when the dual strikes began. And in those contracts, they got pretty broad AI guardrails, you know, like for SAG-AFTRA, it was informed consent and compensation, which, you know, on paper sounds well and good. But, you know, we'll see how that winds up translating into these real world situations where the technology is moving so fast. You know, I know that the Writers Guild has been meeting regularly with the studios to discuss AI. That was part of their contract cycle, which they won in the last after the strike. But it's like, what are those conversations coming to? You know, hopefully something productive for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there has to be an assumption that AI will be used in the workflow processes for making TV and films. And so now, how do you protect creatives? How do you protect workers around the use of this technology? But we're not, you know, putting the genie back in the bottle here by any means.
Yeah, exactly right. Again, project out a few years here, but you know, Elaine, there's an underlying promise in this that I think is being, I want to just point out the difference. AI still can tell you what's going to be a hit. And I think the thing is like, oh, well, they don't just tell you exactly what to do. And it's like, there's still going to be, and Natalie, as you point out, a human element, a gut element to this industry. It's just a matter that there may not be as many people involved in the how do we get there process, and probably on the marketing side, all these things have to be well marketed. You know, awareness is still a factor. AI doesn't change any of that stuff about how do you reach audiences and, you know, things along those lines. But just a distinction of this is a process thing and not a, oh, it's going to tell you what movies to make are going to be a hit. AI would not have told you Sinners would have been a hit, like, you know, hands down, you know, things like that. So there's some nuance to the conversation. I just want to kind of point out that side of it.
Well, at least not yet, right, Sean? I mean, maybe that's coming. Chat GPT 6.
Okay.
You know, I will just note that YouTube creators who've I think largely embraced a lot of AI use in their workflows and even to do like cool visual stunts on the cheap, even they're starting to get worried about what this technology will mean for them and their craft. Mr. Beast tweeted the other day, when AI videos are just as good as normal videos, I wonder what that will do to YouTube and how it will impact the millions of creators currently making content for a living. Scary times. So, people do worry that AI will start to, be able to distinguish what's a hit, what do people want to watch, and, could take a lot of these jobs.
And we have 2 new systems in Sora, and Meta has their Vibes, I think, these AI generated social feeds. Will this eat into traffic? Will these videos start populating on YouTube and TikTok? All these questions and that we have no idea about, but they're seeing this now that everybody else is seeing, like, oh, this could infringe upon our business model here, Natalie's.
Well, if you want to know more about all this, make sure you check out Eric Barmack's next story in his Real AI newsletter on theankler.com, where he will be tackling Sora and its video capabilities. But you know what? For now, the one thing AI can't do? Toss to commercial. Actually, you know what? It probably can.
Yeah, Elaine, that's definitely something you can do. I'm sorry. That's you're hanging your hat on. I have bad news for you.
Okay, but it can't debate the merits of Hollywood's most impactful showrunners, which we're going to do next with the Ankler's own Leslie Goldberg after the break. So stick with us, and we'll be back in a moment.
Introducing Meta Ray-Ban Display, the world's most advanced AI glasses. With a full color display built into the lens of the glasses, it's there when you need it and gone when you don't. Send and receive messages, translate or caption live conversations, collaborate with Meta AI, and more. Be one of the first to try Meta Ray-Ban Display. Visit meta.com/Meta Ray-Ban Display to book a demo and find your pair.
All right, welcome back to the Ankler Podcast. I'm Elaine Lowe here with Natalie Jarvie, Sean McNulty, and my series business co-author, Leslie Goldberg. We've got a good old-fashioned, non-AI generated list of the 10 most market-defining showrunners in the entertainment industry right now. Leslie, how did you make this list? What would you define as market-defining?
So, first of all, I didn't make this list. I consulted a lot of high-level executives at streamers and studios, agents, former executives, a lot of experts basically helped me pick these names. So, and it's basically what we're looking for is who's hot right now and why, and how are they influencing the TV marketplace? So are you making a show that is being wildly imitated? Think how Ted Lasso inspired Stick, right? Like everyone compares those shows, right? There would be no Stick were there not the success of Ted Lasso. That's what we're looking for. How many people have tried to make a medical drama because of the success of Grey's Anatomy? Netflix even tried to find their version of that when they have the person who created it in their stable, but they're still looking for someone to try and knock off Grey's Anatomy. So that's what we're looking for. The people who are testing the marketplace and basically creating what we're going to be watching and talking about a year from now.
All right, so let's start off in no particular order with Taylor Sheridan, whose deal home is at Paramount. He's got Yellowstone, Landman, 1923, Tulsa King, and a lot of others.
Next up, we've got Dan Fogelman, who's at Disney. He's got Paradise, as well as an upcoming Hulu NFL series.
Next up, John Wells at WB TV, of course, of The Pit, and is a new show at Netflix called Unaccustomed Earth coming up.
Yeah, based on a great Jhumpa Lahiri novel. Next up, we've got Bill Lawrence, also at Warner's. He's got Shrinking, of course, the upcoming season of Ted Lasso, and an HBO comedy starring Steve Carell.
Wow, Warner's has got a lot on this list. I think we'll probably get into that. Next, we've got Quinta Brunson. She's known for Abbott Elementary.
And you got Mike White, also at WB TV, of course, of White Lotus fame.
And then Mindy Kaling, also at Warner's. She's, of course, got Netflix's Running Point, starring Kate Hudson, and Hulu's upcoming show Not Suitable for Work.
Now here's someone who's not affiliated with any of the major TV studios. David E. Kelley, he's got Lincoln Lawyer. Apple's Margot's Got Money Troubles coming up, as well as a couple of projects at ABC and Amazon.
And Greg Daniels, also unaffiliated, which was found very interesting. He, of course, is The Paper over there at Peacock, King of the Hill revival, and one of the biggest names in TV comedy, certainly.
And then lastly, we've got, of course, Shonda Rhimes at Netflix with Bridgerton and the ABC staple Grey's Anatomy. All right, so now that we've got our group of 10, everyone, a lot of Warner Brothers names on this list, including John Wells, Quinta Brunson, Bill Lawrence. Leslie, why is that? Do you think it'll hold?
I do think it'll hold. And I think the reason that you're seeing that is because Warner Brothers, technically, while they have HBO and HBO Max as their affiliated networks and streamers, they're still technically an independent studio because part of their business model is that they can sell to any platform. Obviously, with Abbott Elementary, they can sell to broadcast. They have hits on Netflix. They have hits ever.
And
I think that bodes very well for Warner Brothers.
Okay, so I find this list really interesting. Taylor Sheridan seems like an obvious pick right now where we are in 2025. He's got all of those shows. He's sort of a singular voice. But I don't see like Dick Wolf anywhere on here. That man has 8 shows on the air. Why is he not, market defining?
Well, the one thing that this list isn't is a power list. If we were making a list of the most powerful showrunners in television, which everyone in the industry does at some point or another, I had my hand in the one at THR, the power showrunners list, for a very long time. But this is not power. We know Dick Wolf has power. These are the people who are influencing the shows that are being pitched right now in this moment.
So that's interesting. So that explains, because I was wondering about Quinta Brunson here. I love Quinta. I've been writing about her since she was making videos for BuzzFeed, but she only has one show on the air. So I was surprised to see her in the mix with people like Taylor Sheridan, who have, more shows than I can count. So you're saying basically that I imagine Abbott Elementary has been, hugely influential in kind of the broadcast resurgence. It's influencing the kinds of shows that, that the networks are wanting to greenlight. That's why she's here.
That's exactly why she's here. She's a singular talent. And if you look at NBC's St. Denis Medical, that proved at the success of Abbott Elementary reintroduced the success of the mockumentary on broadcast. At the same time, The Office remains a huge hit on streaming. On Peacock, it was obviously huge on Netflix when it was there exclusively. You cannot underestimate the power of a format when you can revive it on broadcast with someone who wasn't a household name. With St. Denis Medical, that's Wendy McClendon-Covey. He's a very successful name in comedy. But when Quinta did it with Abbott Elementary, she was an unknown, right? Like a relative unknown. And she proved that mockumentaries can work again on broadcast, and that broadcast television, for as many people who have written it off, myself included, can still mint stars. She is a comedy sensation. And, I'm sure Abbott Elementary has many more years left in it, but when that show ends, Quinta will have a line of people waiting to work with her, both as a writer and as a creator and as a star.
You know what else struck me about this list is there are a lot of like broadcast names on here, like David E. Kelly. That guy would have been on this list 20 years ago?
That's exactly what we were talking about. Like, who would have been on this list forever ago? And John Wells would have been on it then too.
John Wells, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're both 69 years old. Like, it's incredible what they're doing. And John Wells just won Best Drama for The Pit. Right? Like that these are people. And when you look at the list, Fogelman, Wells, Bill Lawrence, even Mike White, Mindy Kaling, Greg Daniels, Shonda Rhimes.
What did Mike White work on?
Dawson's Creek. Got his start on Dawson's Creek.
Wow.
That's right. Well, yeah, he had a few shows at HBO too. I mean, before White Lotus as well. So yeah.
Right. But when you look at this list, every single name except for Sheridan cut their teeth on working on broadcast. And that is one of the biggest takeaways from this list and all of the reporting that I put into it is everyone wants to work with people who know what they're doing, who know how to manage a budget, who know how to make a show for a certain number, who can keep it on track. And perhaps the most important part is get that show back on an annual basis, like The Pit.
This really just shows me how hard it can be for younger writers to break through here. I mean, Quinta is the youngest person on this list. The fact that, you're still going up against these titans of the industry who have been doing it for decades, that's hard. And I feel for, younger writers who are looking to have that breakout moment like Quinta did with Abbott Elementary, who can finally have that, shot at the goal and be able to get something on the air.
But even with Quinta and Abbott Elementary, she is still paired with 2 veteran broadcast showrunners, Patrick Shoemaker and Justin Halpern.
Well, who was glaringly absent here? Like, who probably would have been included included if series business had existed pre-COVID?
I think Greg Berlanti, obviously, if we're talking about volume alone, he set the TV record. He broke Bruckheimer's record and then broke his own record multiple times. But a lot of those shows were made for the CW.
Yeah. How many CW shows did he have on at any given time?
I mean, he was the Dick Wolf of the CW. He controlled, I think, at least an hour on almost every primetime night.
I'm realizing there's no Ryan Murphy here either.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Ryan Murphy is a name that absolutely would have been on this pre-COVID, but what I'm hearing from everyone that I spoke with is that his shows, while popular, I'm not disputing the success of how big a franchise like Monster is, or all the anthologies that he has at Disney with the American Horror Stories and American Love Story coming up. And
those have done well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They've done well. 911 on broadcast.
Right.
Wait, then why wouldn't he be on this list?
They're not hitting the zeitgeist the way that they used to.
Isn't sort of being in the zeitgeist sort of in a way related to ratings and related to chatter? And like a lot of his rip from the headlines shows certainly meet that criteria.
Absolutely, they meet that criteria. But when you talk to people who are hearing pitches for a living, right? Who are the tastemakers and the ones that are greenlighting the shows for next year and beyond, they're not seeing the impact that Ryan Murphy once had. When you look at when Glee first came out, everyone suddenly, there was musicals everywhere, right? Smash, Empire, Nashville. Those had a cyclical effect. That's not happening. When American Horror Story first came out at the end of that first season, and all of us, TV reporters were shocked when he killed off all the major stars in that. And you're like, well, wait, what's season 2? And then he's like, oh, it's an anthology. He single-handedly brought back the anthology as a genre. That is impact. And that's what we're measuring in this. And his shows aren't doing that today the same way that they were pre-COVID.
Okay, counterpoint. Why is Greg Daniels on here then? Like, listen, the paper, by all accounts, has not been a critical or rating success, has certainly not come anywhere close to replicating what The Office did, which obviously is the thing that has, put him on the map here. I mean, the King of the Hill revival, I think, has been doing all right. But why Greg Daniels and no Ryan Murphy on this list, if that's the case?
Because Greg Daniels created The Office, and The Office continues to have an impact on today's marketplace. It's not just thirst at NBC Universal to tap back into that franchise. They've tried to do that for what? How many times did we report that it was near a deal, or that you were circling it, or it was going to be with a new cast, or that it was going to be original stars coming back, or a new writer who wasn't Greg Daniels? The point is that show continues to have an impact on the marketplace today, and the success of the paper, which has already been renewed for a second season. The fact that Greg was able to reinvent that format and make it timely for 2025 and do it in a way where it was successful. And obviously no one knows how successful these shows are, because there is no shared metric that's universal across broadcast and streaming and et cetera. But the point is that show is having an impact. And Greg Daniels, in addition to King of the Hill, he just wrapped Upload, which, if you ask me, he was ahead of its time. If that show comes out today on a bigger platform and that's promoted properly, that's a huge hit.
Counterpoint,
but I think
how many people were talking about Upload? That's a show that was on for what, like four seasons, right?
None.
But like,
None.
How many of us here watched Upload, heard about Upload, heard our friends talking about Upload?
I mean, I think I watched the first season and didn't stick with it.
I watched the trailers.
I finished the whole thing and thought it was brilliant.
And I'm sure maybe it was. I'm just saying, in terms of like having Greg Daniels on here, but not Ryan Murphy. That's just such it's interesting what kind of feedback you're getting back from the market. I'm curious about what you heard, Leslie, about Shonda Rhimes, who obviously, has one of the longest running shows in Grey's Anatomy, has been hugely successful with Bridgerton. But the last season of Bridgerton didn't really make that much noise.
Right. But she still, when you look at the Netflix all-time global top TV shows, she has not one, but 2 entries. 2 different seasons of Bridgerton have 2 slots on the top 10. And there's only one other show that has 2 seasons reflected, and that's Wednesday. But when you look at Shonda, everyone that I spoke with is like, even though The Residence was a one and done, it still performed well. The reviews were excellent. Uzo Aduba got an Emmy nomination for it. A lot of people wonder why that show was canceled. I'm sure it was, my guess is completion rate versus cost. But she made this list because she is a known brand. And much like Greg Daniels, Grey's Anatomy continues to impact the marketplace. I said it at the top of the show. When you look at Netflix trying to knock off Grey's Anatomy with a show like Pulse, remember when The Pitt and Pulse both came out around the same time this year? Everyone was curious which one of these two is going to work, because effectively they're both trying to do the same thing, right? The procedural is a term that came up a lot in my reporting for this. And it's hard to say, but it's spot on. The Pitt is an elevated broadcast show that's made for streaming, 15 episodes a season, that's meant to be renewable and come back at the same time every year. Pulse, they were hoping was going to be the same thing. But as one source told me, it just didn't have the Shonda magic and it was one and done. Whereas The Pitt is redefining our marketplace right now. And when you look at the fact that Shonda can still continue to produce Grey's while she's juggling everything that she's doing with Netflix, Bridgerton's already had one spinoff. There's continues to be whispers that there might be more in that franchise, which I'm sure there will be. But the bigger point is that she still has a huge, huge, huge brand that brings eyeballs and brings imitators. But yes, there were people that I spoke with, Elaine, that agreed with you that even though The Residents didn't work, that you can debate if Shonda belongs on this of the moment, who's hot right now list. I'm surprised that she made it on the list and it wasn't Ryan Murphy, but there was so much negativity that I was hearing from sources outside of Disney about Ryan and his current impact on the marketplace that it made it really hard to put him on. But everyone in the same breath is like, well, you can't discount Shonda because look at her track record. But you can make the same argument for Ryan Murphy that he belongs on this list because he's developed franchises for not one platform, but two, similar to Dick Wolf. That's power, but we're not measuring power. We're measuring current impact on the marketplace. But one of the appeals too that I want to just quickly add is Greg Daniels isn't based with an overall deal anywhere, but he formed an animation company with Mike Judge, and they've got animated shows set up across the landscape. That's the benefit of being either an independent producer like Greg Daniels or David E. Kelly, or being set up at a former indie studio like Warner Brothers, who does have a model that allows you to sell to the right buyer. Right? There are shows that I'm sure Shonda wants to make that Netflix is like, that's not right for us. That's not what we're looking for. But she's stuck at Netflix. I mean, not stuck. She's getting paid very, very nicely to be there. But
right. But you can't take that out to the market after.
Exactly. You can't sit there and say, we want to do this and go elsewhere.
Well, let me just take a moment to say that there are many, many talented people in this group from your conversations with executives, Leslie. But I think it also should be noted, this is largely a list of middle-aged white men and writers with a lot of broadcast experience. What do we think this says about the state of the market beyond the economic landscape of people want reliable showrunners who can bring things in under budget in a post-strike environment? Where are we going to see emerging talent come from now that most of the studios and networks have, really, I think, done a number on their DEI programs as far as we can tell?
I think that's what we're really seeing is the impact of the current administration on our landscape right now. When you look at the fact that Taylor Sheridan was the first name mentioned by almost every single person that I speak with, and this programs that he makes are middle of the road, character driven hits that appeal to beyond coastal elites, that appeals to the middle of the country. I think what you're seeing is it is a tough time for shows that are DEI. It is a tough time for shows that are queer, right? Like these are, in the peak TV era, there was something for everyone because everyone was throwing everything at the wall.
Every auteur was given space.
Right. And everyone just needed programming. Now that we're post that, there's a contraction happening. And what we're seeing is people are reacting to the current marketplace, hence why this list was created. So everyone wants shows that can appeal, that are down the middle.
I also think that we're seeing this, pendulum swing back towards, as you called them, Leslie, the procedurals, right? And who are the people making those shows, who have the experience making those shows? As we said earlier, it's a lot of these middle-aged white men who, came up at a time when those were the shows, dominating the Nielsen ratings. So it's not surprising to me that these are the people who, are influencing the market right now.
Well, thanks to Leslie for being such a good sport and letting us bring you on and then argue with you the whole time. That's a wrap for the Ankler podcast. Thanks so much for listening. And if you loved our show today or any other day, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods from. And send us your list of the most influential showrunners to podcasts@theankler.com. Thanks to Leslie Goldberg, Sean McNulty, and Natalie Jarvie. And thanks to you all for listening. I'm Elaine Lowe. See you next week.
everyone. I'm Katie Rich. I'm the host of the Prestige Junkie podcast. If you love award season or simply want to understand what's going on between now and the Oscars, become a paid subscriber to Prestige Junkie After Party. I'll be bringing in special guests to talk about insights from fall festival season and beyond to help you understand why some of us truly think the Oscars are as important as the Super Bowl. Go to prestigejunkie.afterparty.substack.com and subscribe now.